that you brothers and sisters are going through, whether Turkey or abroad, wallahi, you're not alone. The rest of non-Turkish believing brothers and sisters are with you. We want to cry with you.
Hasan, these people live an easy life. They get everything they want. They've achieved so much in such a short amount of time. These people aren't, working for the cause of God. They're just having it handed on a plate to them. He said, the day that they suffer, the day calamity befalls upon them, like it did with the prophets and his companions, that's the day I'll look at this organization.
Many countries, many communities, it was only through Allah's blessing that I was introduced to Hizmet people by chance. And when I found out more, along with my family, we were just absolutely taken back.
It's been done quietly, silently, not in front of cameras, not to show off. And actually that's the biggest problem. That's hurt Hizmet in a way.
There is no alternative. In fact, no country in the world has an alternative. So please come and join us on this beautiful journey that you've started.
A mosque in North London. A meeting point for people from different religions and cultures, open 7 days a week. Children run in its corridors and visitors from all walks of life come together here at the same table. Sometimes the reason for their gathering is a breakfast, and sometimes it's a friendship meal. They are looking for ways of living together in solidarity with each other. The efforts put forward since 2008 have paid off. Whilst thousands of people meet in a climate of love on its premises, the Mevlana Rumi Mosque is shown as an example in the country with the awards it has received for its education and charity work. Two names from the board of directors of that mosque meet us. Mani Hussain, born in Kashmir, Pakistan. He arrived in England at the age of 10 and became a mechanical engineer. He works as a professional consultant in the field of occupational safety and health. He has 4 children with his wife, who later converted to Islam. He was introduced to the Mevlana Rumi Mosque by a Hizmet volunteer he met at a park. He is trying to serve the local community at the Mevlana Rumi Mosque. Hasan Buhari, born and raised in England, is a third-generation British Pakistani who is the eldest grandson of his family. He is a lawyer in London and has recently got married. He also worked for a year at a school of the Hizmet movement in Kayseri, after he saw an advertisement on the internet. He now provides legal consultancy to charities and supports their activities for a better world.
It's really important, to have good people around you and to spend as much time with them as possible. So that's first and foremost, and I'm privileged to be a part of it, to be honest. The second thing is, Hizmet isn't just about, or Rumi Mosque isn't just about, praying or the mosque services. It's about much bigger than that, and that's what we appreciate Hizmet for, the vision that is much more than just this mosque. And therein lies the reason why I would be keen to be involved with any institution that thinks so big and thinks so global and so forward-thinking. I want to share in this honor and pride and the S.a.v. that you can get from being part of such a network. For me, that's really important. And aside from that, mosque committees in the UK tend to be tribal, family-run affairs. And what we've got going on at Rumi at the moment is a very diverse board full of young and old, experienced and inexperienced, male and female. And so there's a real flavour at the moment that we're on to something good. And whilst we're on to something good, we want to build it, we want to carry it on, we want to encourage other people to join. Those that may have left us in the past, we want them to say, come back now, because we are on the rightward move to making something special.
I was drawn to Hizmet and this masjid simply because of the sincerity and the beauty of the Hizmet people. Having lived most of my life and travelled far and wide, many countries, many communities, it was only through Allah's blessing that I was introduced to Hizmet people by chance. And when I found out more, along with my family, we were just absolutely taken back. It is one of the probably the only Muslim group of people left now that actually follow what I consider to be the proper way of Islam. No disrespect to other communities, other faiths, and other madhab. I'm sure they're valid, but this is something else. Almost every person in Hizmet that I've met.
How were you introduced to the Hizmet movement? What was the most important aspect of it that impressed you?
I'd graduated out of law school and I was delaying real life. So I told my mum I wanted to go travelling. And I'd actually intended to go to China because Mandarin is a really important business language. But the Chinese authorities weren't accepting that I was British because of my brown skin. So I needed plan B, otherwise I'd have to go to become a lawyer straight away. I wanted to delay that as much as possible. I found an advert on the internet on a Wednesday night, and the gentleman that answered the phone was promoting teaching in schools in Turkey, teaching English as a TEFL teacher. He invited me to his house, surprisingly, from the internet, taking a number, going to someone's house that same evening. And within 3 days, I was in Kayseri on December the 10th, 2011, in the shirt and trousers, not realizing the temperature was minus 20 degrees Celsius. I was shivering at the airport, and I heard a call for Hasan, Hasan. Gel, gel buraya, gel. Didn't understand a word of Turkish, it was freezing cold. The gentleman didn't speak a word of English. He didn't park his car in the car park. But he was a happy guy, so I just followed him out of the airport in freezing cold weather, pulling my luggage along. And I thought, oh wow, maybe I've made a mistake here. And that was my introduction to a Hizmet school through a Hizmet agency, and I had no idea. I didn't know what this was. I was curious about Turkey and politics and the background and Islam and Sufism maybe. For the first 6 months to 12 months, I was just a regular foreign teacher. And then I was asked to participate more in extracurricular activities with students, tutoring, staying in student houses, learning a bit more about services to the community beyond your job. That's very special about Hizmet, by the way. And then it became known or apparent to me, the revival of religion to an extent in Turkey, which we always saw as a non-religious country in the UK. Like my Pakistani family and friends would always say, in the early 2000s, Turkey's not a religious country. But it became apparent to me that these people were the driving force for reviving a grassroots, authentic, deeply embedded form of Islam in people's hearts and minds in Turkey. They were active beyond just their jobs. And I developed a really deep appreciation for this. Actually, I went with the intention of following Turkish politics because we had a very bombastic prime minister and president who were shouting from the rooftops on TV cameras. So it was a lot to be excited about in 2012. But when I went, I realized that the actual grassroots work is being done quietly, silently, not in front of cameras, not to show off. And actually that's the biggest problem that's hurt Hizmet in a way. They didn't show off. They kept their good deeds hidden. They acted with solidarity, with purpose, with agenda. And that is their biggest fault, because they didn't show off that we are promoting Islam or we are serving Islam. They just did it without saying it. And that's the main reason that the message didn't get propagated to the wider world, and the wider world has now turned on these people that I recognize as the most special people of my life. The only people I'd call true Muslims, in fact, personally.
They are working selflessly, always working very hard, working for others. And mashallah, they are so educated and informed about our deen, our religion, that you can do nothing but to join in with them. And that was one of the main reasons. I thought, if these people are doing so much goodness for this world, what are we doing as people who are outside the Hizmet? Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Arab, so on. Mashallah, there are good pockets of people, but on the whole, you cannot compare those people with the belief, the sincerity and the good work that the Hizmet people did. And that's what made me become so infectious with them. Hence, I came to the masjid to initially just to come, participate, learn, pray here, and got to know the various people, and then realized that the masjid actually needed support, help. And I was in a privileged position, blessed that I could actually spare time, allocate my resources to here. So we then joined the board of governing body here, and through that, mashallah, now we are doing amazing things.
What do your families think about your commitment to the Hizmet movement and your activities at the Rumi Mosque? Do they support you?
Well, actually, I'd like to share a personal situation. My wife first came to this masjid through some contacts. In fact, I think probably that's the reason that I became involved with the masjid. And her experience was just amazing. You know, my wife from not only just a non-Muslim background, but she was a non-Muslim full stop. She was Jewish background, so she had very little community here. And like myself, most of my community families are outside London. We moved here with job employment, so we were quite sort of lonely in terms of family members. But not only that, we didn't know many Muslims. We got to know some Muslims. It's only that we met Hizmet community that we felt completely like a big family. Not only just that, but their beautiful, warm, welcoming, non-judgmental approach to people. Actually, it just pulls people in. You know, you feel like you want to be part of these people. What is that makes them the way they are? And I remember she used to come here for cookery classes, for all the other events, and she used to come back thinking, mashallah, this is fantastic. You know, it's nothing like in London. So in terms of family support, of course, most of our family members, I mean, my wife's family were Jewish, still are Jewish, so there was no support there at all. In fact, they were against it. My family was not here, but we had each other. And we both became simultaneously united and committed to the cause of Hizmet and their way of thinking. To the point that we were invited, alhamdulillah, to some soppets, halaqat, the circle, initially as just, guests, and we were just mesmerized, taken back. In fact, we just wanted more and more of it regularly. When they occasionally stopped for a reason, we were upset. And to the point that later on, when they stopped altogether, we thought we better do something ourselves. So we started hosting these soppets and trying to encourage other Hizmet and non-Hizmet people to come along and carry on this beautiful philosophy, because we found it to be absolutely amazing in terms of knowledge, understanding your religion properly, and just generally the community atmosphere. Because it's not just the knowledge. Once a week you get together with half a dozen people of like-minded thinking, you learn, you meet each other, have a cup of coffee, a few snacks. It's also being part of the community. And not only, I was doing this as a kind of soppet host for men, my wife was doing the same for the ladies.
Not only are they happy with it, they've embraced it as their own mosque. So when the opportunity comes to fundraise and donate, they'd be the first ones to contribute. When the opportunity comes to help as volunteers, the youngsters mobilize and they're here on the front line, which has been particularly useful during this COVID pandemic and trying to keep the mosque open for the local community. Even sharing with us the needs of the mosque in terms of background services. My family members are keen to support and keen to participate in something they feel is good and beneficial.
What is the purpose of the mosque activities? Who supports them and why? What do you think about the persecution and repression of the Hizmet volunteers? Striking findings from London and explanations that you will hear for the first time in a moment. Which activities raise awareness about Rumi Mosque and the Hizmet movement?
So this masjid, mashallah, does many things that actually brings the community together. So just to highlight a couple of examples, twice in a week, one gathering is the sisters and the ladies cookery classes, which brings together some 10 to 15 local sisters and ladies, and from all background. You know, currently it's been led by a Moroccan sister, but previously it was by Turkish. But you know, the ladies come from all ethnic background, Pakistanis, Turks, even local English people come along. So that's a really good way of doing a project that actually is the focal point, but behind it there's a bigger message. We're working together. You're discussing issues together. We're learning through subtle, indirect ways to mutually respect each other. So this brings the local community together in a very difficult way, so that you're not actually injecting your deen, your Islam, your religion. It's just to say it's a cookery club. Come and cook. Let's talk. Let's have a laugh. So that's one example. Another example of this masjid doing fantastic work for the community is that the breakfast club. This breakfast club is for the local community. It doesn't matter who you are. To pick up the Rumi saying, come, whoever you are. That's exactly being put into practice here. The local community consists of policemen, drug addicts, people homeless, people who are broken family, again from all nationality here, English, Bengali, any nationality. So they come together for a breakfast, and obviously their need is that they are needy. There's a breakfast provided, which is a fantastic breakfast, and at the same time the opportunity is taken to give these people something bigger than just a breakfast. That's just a way of getting them to come to a masjid and enjoy a nice breakfast. The masjid runs all kinds of seminars.
So we have people from different nationalities sharing their cooking skills and experiences, which is a great way to promote peace and coexistence by learning what other people eat. Another really special thing we do here in terms of culture building and people helping people feel a part of this country is the ladies' IT skills classes and English language classes. So it's no secret that our mosque, one of its biggest challenges is that we're here in quite a deprived community in North London, as London goes. And for us to be able to offer those key life skills to people like English language or IT skills, which are so important in today's age, it really helps the ladies in particular who benefit from these classes to then go out and face the real world, equipped with the skills that they need. Just this ambition from the mosque is great. The result's down to God, but the ambition is great in itself. And for a mosque to be aspiring to do all these things simultaneously is special. And it's a central tenet, it's promoting central tenets of Islam and Hizmet. Peace, coexistence, community building, community engagement.
This is a different mosque from the ones we are used to. Children's voices can be heard from its corridors. What's the result of this?
I myself am not local, immediate vicinity to the mosque. And over time what I've done is I've encouraged my own family and my own friends to come to the mosque. So let me share with you what their experience is. And they come in their dozens now to this mosque. And they prefer this mosque over all others. They've said to me that Hasan is the first mosque we come to and we just feel relaxed. What's special about that is even though there's children running around making noise during Salah sometimes, people have such humble feedback. Usually, I've experienced in some places where if children are running around, you kind of tell them off, you tell them to stop, or you discipline them. There's not much of this here. Like, yes, we discipline, we guide, but it's a place where people feel free and welcome. Children, adults, people from the local community, and people from not so local. A crucial factor here is it's not just Muslims. So for example, on our open day 2 years ago, at the door, we had two non-Muslims greeting people, saying, "Welcome to our mosque." How special is that? That non-Muslims are embracing this hub as their own, this mosque as their own. For me, that is the very definition of a mosque, a central hub for the community, Muslim and non-Muslim. And the non-Muslims benefit greatly from the services offered by the mosque. The homeless breakfast that we serve every week is attended by 30 to 40 people every week for the past 3 or 4 years. That's a phenomenal achievement. It's a recognised achievement by the local authority and the local community. School children take advantage of this space. They're shown presentations on a projector right by the minbar. Which mosque where there's a large projector to give presentations to school children right by the minbar? And they're actually engaged because the people here don't treat this just like somewhere to pray and leave. They treat it like their home. Somewhere where they feel most comfortable. And every community needs somewhere like that.
That the local community feels so comfortable coming here, in my opinion, humble opinion, is that it's the philosophy of Hizmet, based on peace, love, understanding, and sincere service to Allah for the sake of Allah. There is no ego in people. There is no hierarchy, I'm better than the other person. And this then comes across the community, and because of that, they love coming here. In fact, this is something that attracts a lot of people to Hizmet movement. And you question, you think, well, how is this possible? Well, of course, if you're completely at ease with your faith, you are, mashallah, very knowledgeable in how to conduct yourself, then there is no need to have this hierarchical, egotistical, tribal, cultural things that sadly is happening in lots of our masjid and communities. And we are at loggerhead with each other. Thank God the Hizmet movement and their philosophy, and through Rumi Masjid, is the opposite here. So this is what we pray that is actually then shared across this country, if possible the whole world, because the world is actually in desperate situation for something like this. They are lost, they are divided, fighting, lack of a knowledge, understanding, not standing shoulder to shoulder. And Hizmet movement is providing all the answers for this. If only people would just wake up and listen and understand. As somebody who was not originally brought up in the Hizmet movement, and I was fortunate enough some 10, 12 years ago to come across, meet them, I can tell you the Hizmet movement is absolutely the way forward. There is no alternative. In fact, no country in the world has got alternative. So please come and join us on this beautiful journey that you've started. For those of us who've joined your journey, we are regretful that we didn't join you earlier. And for the time that we've got left, we want to now double up our efforts using your methods, your philosophy to achieve more. We have, mashallah, some fantastic, ambitious plans for this masjid as a platform, but it's only a platform. What we want to then is project the good teaching, the philosophy, the methods, the way of doing things with other local masjids, with other cities in the country. Our initial aim is in this country. By God's grace, if that's possible, we would like to do that throughout the world. So we need to come out. Let's not be fearful. We have a limited time left on this dunya. Let's give everything we have so that we do not regret when we go to grave.
What happened when the young woman who escaped from hooligans took refuge in the mosque? How did Rumi Mosque manage to win the UK's most prestigious award? What do they think about the persecution and repression of Hizmet volunteers in Turkey? Striking findings and explanations you will hear for the first time in a moment. You must come across many interesting incidents while doing these activities. Could you tell us about some of those that have affected you the most?
There was an incident. The masjid is based on a high street, so there's lots of people walking past. There was an incident when one English lady was chased by some hooligans outside, and she had nowhere to go but to find the door of the masjid, which is literally sitting abutting the street. So she ran inside, and sought refuge. The brothers from the masjid went outside to obviously ward off and chase these intruders, and then drove this sister, this young English lady, home in peace and security. And she then later on made a comment on the Facebook to say how wonderful this masjid and the people are here to have given this service without any conditions, any requirements. This is just an example of the sort of things that this masjid inspires. It's not the building, it's the people, it's the Hizmet philosophy. Do what you can for others without anything back. This is the essence of it all here. You know, mashallah, you know, we had the New Zealand attacks where the mosque was bombed, as you know. It was an international incident. And I remember here standing outside the masjid, I think it was the month of Ramadan, where we had some concerns that this may also happen here. And I recall seeing not just one policeman, but a dozen policemen standing outside here. You know, they are more than happy to come and help a mosque. We asked just for one police person to come and stand at the door to show a bit of a security, deterrence. But alhamdulillah, there were half a dozen people standing, the police. We made them a cup of tea, gave them some biscuits, but they could not do enough for us. They came, in fact, several days after that. This just shows you the respect that this masjid has with the local community, not just the local community, but with the authorities, the police, the council, and people in a position of power. So alhamdulillah, this is all because of Hizmet philosophy. Doing something from the bottom of your heart without anything, you know, in return, and people can see that, and that's what inspires people to come to Hizmet. For those of you who've led this path in the past, the senior Abis, the people, you know, in Pennsylvania or Turkey, mashallah, may Allah bless you. What you've done amazing things to inspire ordinary people like us. We want you to now come back and take the lead and take another platform. We are with you. We are not Turks, but mashallah, we're going to be fighting harder than those people who were originally Turks.
No matter who's leading the prayer, just being here feels special. It's no secret, and we've spoke about it a lot, that this is a community mosque open for everyone. And our biggest assets are not us board members who attend when we can, infrequently sometimes, but the people who are day to day. We have fantastic imam who goes over and beyond, not only providing reading services and salah services, but also like counselling and introduction services. I recall one occasion where we had an English gentleman, a non-Muslim, enter the foyer of the mosque complaining about the NHS and how the queue time is so long, how he hasn't been seen for so many weeks. He can't make any progress on his matter, cardiological matter it was. Shared his experience with the imam. And as you know, the imam's phone books are always very long, and they have doctors and lawyers on speed dial. The imam phoned an Indian doctor, a non-Muslim doctor, who attended the mosque almost straight away at the imam's request. So here we have a situation where an Englishman is coming in, complaining about the NHS to a Muslim imam in the mosque. And the Muslim imam is calling an Indian doctor with 35 years experience, who's dropping everything to come and see this man because of the respect for the imam and the respect for our institution. So that's a flavor of what sort of community this is. And even when you have people who are so giving, it makes you want to be giving. So when I am invited to give legal advice or stop and help musallis or people in the foyer with their personal and legal affairs, it's not a professional thing for me. It's a human thing for me to do. So once you create this environment of giving and sharing, then everyone becomes like this. And that's what we're trying to promote here.
You have received many awards for your activities. What do these awards mean?
Rumi Masjid was voted in a nationwide, UK-wide, if you like, a criteria assessment of masjid doing the most amazing things in the country. As you know, that there are many masjids in this beautiful country of ours, UK. small, large, very glamorous, run by different communities, all mashallah doing some amazing things, but collectively Rumi Masjid was identified by these nationwide criteria run by faith associates who wanted to promote and benchmark good practices in the country. Mashallah, they did amazing things. They had a very strict criteria for assessing the masjids in terms of their quality of services, documentation, assessments. They spent a lot of time going through all the masjids who participated and submitted the application, and Rumi was no exception. They scrutinized everything. And in the end, the Rumi Masjid had probably no expectation of this, as nobody did, because there was no precedent before. But I can share with you, this is something amazing, that this small masjid in north of London with a very limited community resources managed to succeed in getting 3 awards, nationwide awards, from a total of 13, against the backdrop of some amazing large masjids from big cities with a lot of budget, with a lot of people there. So you question, you think, how is that possible? We question ourselves, how is that possible? Well, it's not difficult, because when you look at the people that are here, who work tirelessly, day and night, for a good cause. They are committed all the time. They have no axe to grind. They want to deliver the best service. The 3 services, the 3 awards that they got awarded was for, one was for the best charity, best charity masjid in the country. The next one was for the best madrasa, the Arabic classes in the country. And the third one was the best overall masjid. Now, I can just pick up one of those things from that because I had personal experience, the best charity. This masjid does amazing things in terms of charity work, both domestically in this country, as we mentioned early on, but also internationally. If there's a crisis in whichever country, Africa, Asia, Europe, Greece, Yemen, this masjid, through the committee here, they raise funds, and before you know, it's delivered on grounds. But I can share with you one example, because I was just involved by sheer chance. There was the Rohingya incident in former Burma. There was sadly very tragic incidents taking place, and we were seeing it across our screens on nationwide television, and we felt we had to do something. So this masjid managed to arrange a scheme to say, well, let's raise some money. We did some racing. We went to Sheffield participated in a nationwide race as a way of highlighting the issue and then raising money. We raised money, and then a number of people from here went to Bangladesh, to Cox's Bazar, to donate what we raised to help the Rohingya people. It was a small amount. There were 1 million refugees. No amount of money that any could have raised would have been enough, but that's not the point. It was a symbolic gesture, it was the effort, and we went, alhamdulillah, and we built some tents, shelters, food, and some ladies' unique services there that nobody else was providing, even though there was major United Nations agency there aground.
Where do they find resources for the charity activities? What do they think about the persecution and repression of the Hizmet volunteers in Turkey? A very important question, and messages from England that will touch a chord in your heart soon. This is not only a mosque, but also an education and charity centre. How do you find resources for these activities?
Since I've been involved with the masjid and the board, it's still a bit of a mystery as to how this masjid run before, to be honest with you. I don't know how it happened, but I'm told by people that there was a lot of funding provided from sources, and it was plenty of money. But that money is no longer here, and this masjid now, alhamdulillah, since then, is now working in a different way. It's trying to find a means of source that is home, locally grown, donated by the local community for the service of the local community. So we're not relying on anybody outside. We're, inshallah, by the will of Allah and the hard work of people here, the masjid will stand on its own feet through initiatives, through ideas, through systems that we will develop that will be implemented. So just to give an example, we might be looking at one scheme, which is to use this vast space There's some opportunity to create some residential units here, so we rent those things out and that will generate income for the masjid. We will be calling upon some business people living locally to donate more for the masjid. Not donate because it's just for the sake of donating, so they can actually participate, and when they become part of this philosophy of thinking, they will empty their pockets without asking them. It's just a question of how you reach them. The difficulty is actually getting them to know that there is this beautiful way of life called Hizmet and the teaching. Once they embrace that, the funding, alhamdulillah, will come.
What's the most important feature you see in the Hizmet movement? What are its basic principles? Which one has influenced you the most?
Hizmet means a sincere way of life. It means to live your life that the Almighty wanted to lead our life. My understanding of Hizmet is based on two prongs. To be highly educated, not just in Islam, in Quran, Hifz, but also in secular education. Whether you're a doctor, an engineer, lawyer, health and safety consultant, doesn't matter. Be at the peak of your profession, but at the same time, know your religion. So that's the knowledge side of it, the education. But the most important part of Hizmet that I foresee is the word Hidmet, or Hizmet means service to others. That is the bit that actually inspires me a lot. And I think this is what is unique for Hizmet that no other community can come anywhere near. Doing something for the others, for the sake of Allah, that's what Hizmet means to me.
On a literal level, Mani Arabi hit it on the head when you said service to others, and therefore service to God in the best possible way, being at the peak of your abilities. And that's what Hizmet promotes and encourages. But for me, it's very simple. I was once asked that, what have you done for the sake of God today, by one of my Arabis in Turkey? And I went, what do you mean? Like, I pray, I try. He said, yes, but you have to live your life so that every step and every word you take and say is for the sake of Allah. And for me, the Hizmet model and the Hizmet philosophy is living for the sake of God with no expectation.
The Hizmet movement is in dire straits in Turkey in particular. What do you think about the pressure and oppression that Hizmet followers are suffering from?
I know are suffering so many problems, and it appears as if no one in the world or their own country is speaking out for them. And I'd like to share with you the words of one of my ex-colleagues. He was also a solicitor, and London is full of diverse jamaats and organizations and religious associations. And every day I'd knock on his door and I'd say, there's something very special about this group of people. There's something so special that, and I used to speak to him about it. And he was intrigued and he was inspired, but he had commitment to his own organization. And the only answer he had for me when Hizmet was in its peak years in 2013, 14, 2012, 13, 14, was that, Hasan, these people live an easy life. They get everything they want. They've achieved so much in such a short amount of time. These people aren't, working for the cause of God. They're just having it handed on a plate to them. He said, the day that they suffer, the day calamity befalls upon them, like it did with the prophets and his companions, that's the day I'll look at this organization.
I'd like to share my deepest condolences and pain that you brothers and sisters are going through, whether Turkey or abroad. Wallahi, you're not alone. The rest of non-Turkish believing brothers and sisters are with you. We want to cry with you. You're not alone. But at the same time, do not lose hope. Because if you believe in Fethullah Gulen or just the comfort of Hizmet, then you're dead. But if you believe in God, then rise from the ashes, because nothing on this earth is going to stop you. Nothing. The worst they can do is take our lives away. That's it. There's nothing bigger than that. But we're going to die one day anyway. Let's hold on to what's dear. Come out fighting the best way we can. Because we can. No dictators, no regime in this world will last forever. History has shown us that. We must never lose hope. Keep strong, keep faith in Allah, be united, carry on what you can do. I am just an ordinary person, but in my heart I know that one day, maybe it will be after I've gone, Hizmet will be strong again, inshallah, will thrive, will be better than what it was before, because it would have gone through the trials and tribulations. So may Allah help us all, and may Allah give us the strength to keep going for the sake of one reason, for the sake of God.